The Galactic Combat Academy wasn't just any school. It was where the most lethal, aggressive, and downright terrifying species in the known universe sent their young to become even more effective at the art of killing, which is why it was so goddamn hilarious when they started accepting humans. Would Cadet Harper please report to the administration office? Cadet Jack Harper. The voice echoing through the massive titanium alloy hallways caused several lethal appendages to twitch in annoyance. Predatory eyes from a dozen different evolutionary paths all swiveled toward the source of the disruption, a scrawny human male with a regulation haircut and the survival instincts of an accountant. At least that's what they thought. Sorry, coming through, Jack Harper muttered as he squeezed past a cluster of Vextari warriors whose chitinous exoskeletons scraped against the walls. One of them hissed, displaying 4 rows of needle-like teeth. Watch it, soft skin, the Vextari growled, mandibles clicking in what passed for amusement among its kind. Wouldn't want you to bruise before the predator challenge even begins. Jack just smiled. Not the predatory smile of the Kronax with their triple-hinged jaws, or the disturbing facial contortion of the meridians that exposed venomous glands. Just a simple, human smile that revealed flat, inefficient teeth and 0 biological weapons. Thanks for your concern, Jack replied, stepping around the group. Commander Trazul waited in the administration office, her 4 arms crossed in various positions of disapproval. As a Quilaxian, she was essentially a living arsenal, poisonous barbs coating her exoskeleton, retractable claws that could slice through battle armor, and enough muscle mass in each limb to crush a small vehicle. Cadet Harper, she rumbled, voice modulator struggling to form human phonetics. Do you understand what the Predator Challenge is? Jack stood at attention. Yes, Commander. The annual survival exercise where 4 cadet teams must navigate hostile terrain, avoid predators, and reach extraction while competing against other teams. Correct. And do you know why I called you here? I'm guessing it's not to congratulate me on my stellar performance in xenobiology class. The commander's barbs rippled in irritation. Humor. How quintessentially human. I called you here because several senior cadets have filed formal complaints about your inclusion in the challenge. They believe humans are insufficient. With all due respect, Commander, humans qualified for the academy, same as everyone else. Technically correct, Trazul conceded. Your species somehow passed the entrance metrics despite having no natural armor, no venom, no enhanced strength, speed, or sensory capabilities. You can't breathe underwater, survive in vacuum, or regenerate limbs. So tell me, Cadet Harper, what exactly are you going to contribute to your team in the Predator Challenge? Jack maintained eye contact, which itself was considered either brave or stupid depending on the species you were facing. I guess we'll find out, Commander. Team assignments had been posted. Team 12, Crix Vextari Combat Specialist, Lyra Meridian, Tactical Officer, Doz Kronax Heavy Assault, and Jack Harper, Unspecialized. Unspecialized. The polite academy term for we have no idea what you're good for. Oh wonderful, Crix's mandibles clicked in annoyance when Jack approached his teammates. We got the human. The pre-challenge training period lasted exactly 1 solar cycle, just enough time for teams to establish basic protocols, and for Jack's teammates to make their disappointment abundantly clear. No, 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 Crix hissed, mandibles flaring as Jack failed another target acquisition drill. You can't even track a basic motion pattern. How are you supposed to detect a camouflaged predator? Jack lowered the sensor array. Maybe I could. Don't bother, Lyra interrupted, her skin patterns shifting to what Jack had learned indicated dismissive calculation. I've run the probability matrix. Our highest survival chance comes from positioning Harper in the center of our formation, where he can be protected while contributing minimum liability. In other words, rumbled Doz, stay in the middle, and try not to die too quickly. During the close quarters combat module, Jack's turn in the simulation resulted in what the computer coldly announced as fatal termination within seconds. His teammates didn't even bother to look disappointed. Just stay behind us tomorrow, Lyra advised as they headed to the equipment bay to select their challenge gear. Each team was allowed limited equipment, 1 primary tool per team member, plus a shared survival kit. Crix selected an advanced motion tracker. Lyra chose a tactical computing array that interfaced directly with her nervous system. Doz opted for a massive shock staff that could deliver enough electricity to stun even Class 6 predators. Jack reached past the high-tech options and selected a simple survival knife with a composite blade. Crix's mandibles clicked rapidly, their equivalent of derisive laughter. A knife, against Class 7 predators. It's multi-purpose, Jack explained, testing the edge with his thumb. Cutting, digging, prying, signaling. Just don't cut yourself, Lyra said, her skin patterns shifting to what Jack had learned meant she was suppressing amusement. The blood might attract predators. That night, in the human-compatible quarters, Jack sat cross-legged on his bunk. Unlike his teammates who were probably running final tactical simulations or honing their already lethal natural weapons, he was doing something peculiar. He was tying knots in various cords and wires from the supply kit. His roommate, another human cadet named Miguel who wasn't participating in the challenge, watched curiously. "Those look like snares," Miguel observed. Jack nodded. "Among other things, your team actually letting you contribute?" "Not exactly," Jack replied, testing the tension on a particularly complex arrangement of cordage. "But I figure it's better to be prepared. You know what they're saying, right? That Team 12 got shafted with a human." Jack shrugged. "Wouldn't be the first time I was underestimated." Miguel raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "Let's just say the Academy recruitment officers didn't exactly do their homework when they selected me," Jack said with a small smile. "They saw Earth resident and made some assumptions. Dawn on the Academy station meant precisely calibrated lighting panels transitioning to day-cycle illumination. For the participants of the Predator Challenge, however, dawn meant boarding transport shuttles to the designated arena planetoid. Team 12 was assigned to Drop Zone Echo, a heavily forested region on the northwestern edge of the competition area. Their objective: traverse approximately 20 kilometers of hostile terrain to reach the extraction point within 48 standard hours, while competing against 15 other teams for ranking points. 3 hours into their trek, they encountered their first major obstacle, a ravine cutting across their planned route, too wide to jump and too steep to descend safely. "This isn't on the terrain map," Lyra hissed, skin flashing with frustrated calculation patterns. "They've altered the landscape. We'll have to go around," Crix decided, consulting his motion tracker. "There's increased movement 2 clicks north. South is our best option. South adds 4 hours to our route." Lyra countered. Unacceptable delay. While they argued, Jack quietly set down his pack and approached the edge of the ravine. He studied the massive trees on either side, noting their position and structure. "We could cross here," he said, interrupting the increasingly heated tactical debate. Jack pointed to a particularly massive tree near the ravine edge. "If we fell that tree, it would reach across the gap. Instant bridge." Crix's mandibles clicked in what Jack had learned was their version of an eye roll. "And how exactly do you propose we fell a tree that's 2 meters thick? Gnaw through it with your pathetically flat teeth." Actually, Jack reached into his pack and pulled out what appeared to be a length of wire with handles on each end. "We could use this." Lyra's skin patterns shifted to confusion. "What primitive device is that?" "It's called a wire saw. Silent, effective," and Jack demonstrated by wrapping it around a smaller tree trunk and pulling the handles back and forth, capable of cutting through surprisingly sturdy materials. To everyone's surprise except Jack's, the wire saw proved remarkably effective when powered by Doz's considerable strength. Within 20 minutes they had cut through enough of the trunk to strategically weaken it. With one massive push from the Kronax, the tree toppled precisely as Jack had predicted, creating a bridge across the ravine. Was all Crix could manage as they carefully crossed. Their momentary respect evaporated 4 hours later, when they encountered their first predator, a 6-limbed reptilian creature with bioluminescent patches that pulsed hypnotically as it stalked through the underbrush. "Chasmodon," Lyra whispered, skin patterns shifting to alert mode. "Class 5 ambush predator. Hypnotic light patterns preceded by paralytic secretions. Standard formation." Doz rumbled, extending his shock staff. "Harper, get back." What happened next was a choreographed dance of lethal precision. Crix darted forward, using his superior reflexes to distract the creature while staying just out of reach. Lyra coordinated their movements with rapid-fire instructions, her calculations predicting the Chasmodon's attack seconds before they happened. Doz moved with surprising speed for his size, getting close enough to jab his shock staff at the creature's vulnerable spots. Their tactics were textbook perfect, a beautiful example of academy training in action, and completely ineffective. The Chasmodon absorbed the electrical shocks as if they were mild irritants. Its hypnotic patches flashed in complex patterns that seemed to confuse even Lyra's calculations. One massive limb connected with Doz, sending the Chronax flying into a tree trunk with enough force to crack the bark. While his teammates regrouped for another coordinated attack, Jack quietly began gathering materials from the forest floor. "Harper," Lyra called out, "stay hidden. We'll handle this." Their second assault went no better than the first. As they retreated to regroup again, bleeding and frustrated, they found Jack kneeling on the ground, surrounded by a strange arrangement of vines, sticks, and what appeared to be bundled forest debris. "What are you doing?" Crix demanded. "This is no time for whatever primitive thing this is." Jack looked up, his expression calm, creating an alternative strategy. "I need 2 minutes." The Chasmodon burst through the trees directly toward their position, much faster than before. Doz, still dazed from the previous impact, raised his shock staff too slowly. Crix's reflexes barely saved him from decapitation. Lyra's calculations couldn't process the speed change. And then Jack stepped forward, holding what appeared to be a crude spear, but not to attack. Instead, he thrust it into the ground at an angle, directly in the creature's path, and pulled on a vine arrangement he'd created. What happened next was so fast that even Crix had trouble tracking it. The ground beneath the charging Chasmodon collapsed, a carefully concealed pit that Jack had somehow excavated and disguised in minutes. The creature's momentum carried it forward, impaling it on a bed of sharpened stakes positioned at the bottom. The resulting roar of pain echoed through the forest canopy. The Chasmodon thrashed but couldn't escape the pit trap, a design so simple yet so effective that it predated interstellar travel by millennia.
"What?"
Doz stared, open-mouthed. "How did you?" Lyra's skin patterns were cycling through confusion protocols. "Pit trap," Jack explained simply. "Already gathering their scattered equipment. Been around on Earth for thousands of years. Should hold it long enough for us to put some distance between us and it. We should move before the blood attracts more predators." For the first time since team assignments, none of his teammates argued. Night fell quickly in the arena. Team 12 had made good progress following the Chasmodon encounter, maintaining a steady pace along Lyra's calculated route. More importantly, the dynamic within the team had shifted subtly. Jack was no longer being actively excluded from tactical discussions. 7 teams have been eliminated already, Lyra reported as they set up a defensible position for the night. "That's unusual for the first day. I've been noticing strange predator behavior patterns," Crix added, his sensory antenna twitching constantly. "More aggressive than standard class 5 through 7 parameters." Jack was busy with something the others initially dismissed as useless, creating a series of thin tripwires connected to small bundles of forest debris around their camp. When Crix finally asked what he was doing, Jack's explanation was simple: early warning system. Low-tech but effective. No sooner had he finished setting the last alarm than one of the distant triggers activated, sending its bundle of sticks clattering to the ground. "I'm not detecting anything," Crix whispered, compound eyes swiveling. "But something definitely tripped that wire." "Distance?" Doz asked, readying his shock staff. "Approximately 50 meters northeast," Jack answered, already packing essential supplies, and moving methodically, not randomly. "We should relocate." Their answer came with terrifying swiftness. A shadow detached itself from the canopy above, a massive serpentine form that moved with impossible silence. In the brief glimpse they got before scattering, Jack recognized chitin plates, razor appendages, and what appeared to be technological augmentations embedded in the creature's body. Xenomorph hybrid. Crix's alarmed clicks barely carried over the sound of their frantic retreat. Class 10. Not authorized for the challenge. They crashed through the undergrowth, all pretense of stealth abandoned in favor of speed. The hybrid followed with methodical precision, herding them away from their planned route. Jack skidded to a halt at the edge of a ravine, the others barely stopping in time behind him. Below, more pairs of bioluminescent eyes watched from the darkness. "It has friends," Crix hissed, antenna quivering. "We're surrounded." The hybrid emerged from the trees behind them, blocking their retreat. Now fully visible in the moonlight, its horrific form became clear, part natural predator, part cybernetic weapon. This was no standard challenge obstacle. Someone sabotaged the challenge. Lyra's skin patterns pulsed with alarm calculations. These are military-grade hunter-killers. How do we fight that? Dawes growled, raising his shock staff despite knowing its futility. Jack was oddly calm. We don't fight it, we outsmart it. With what? Crix demanded. It has superior everything. Not everything, Jack replied, reaching into his pack. Hybrid means part organic, part machine. Both have weaknesses. As the creature began its final approach, Jack pulled out items he'd collected throughout the day, plant material, soil samples, and what appeared to be secretions from earlier encountered fauna. Quickly, he instructed, cover yourselves with this. What is it? Lyra asked, though she was already following his lead. Natural camouflage, Jack explained, smearing the mixture over his exposed skin. The organic components mask our scent, and the mineral content disrupts thermal imaging. To his teammates' shock, Jack didn't retreat from the approaching monstrosity. He stepped sideways along the ravine edge, moving with deliberate, almost ritualistic precision. His footfalls were eerily silent, despite the foliage underfoot. More remarkably, the hybrid seemed momentarily confused, its sensory appendages scanning back and forth as if it had lost track of them despite their being in plain sight. It works on sound and scent more than vision, Jack whispered as they inched along the precipice. And it's programmed to expect certain movement patterns. Don't move like prey. How do you know all this? Dawes rumbled softly as they continued their careful egress. Jack's expression was grim in the moonlight. Because Earth has predators too, and for most of our history, we were the prey, not the predators. We had to learn or die. You were a wilderness survival instructor, Lyra realized, her skin patterns showing dawning comprehension. That's what your file meant by environmental specialist. 10 years in Earth's most extreme environments, Jack confirmed as they finally reached a defensible position, a narrow passage between two rock formations, teaching people how to survive everything from polar bears to jungle cats to desert conditions. The Academy recruitment officer thought it sounded quaint, compared to the combat specialists they usually get. Dawn broke over the arena. 1412. Huddled in the narrow passage they'd defended through the night. It brought both visibility and vulnerability. 10 teams eliminated now, Crix reported, antenna twitching as he monitored challenge updates. The officials are claiming technical difficulties but haven't suspended the event. Jack had been silent for the past hour, sketching diagrams in the dirt with the tip of his knife. The others, now genuinely curious about his methods, gathered around. The hybrid is still hunting us, he explained, pointing to his crude map. But it's not alone. I've counted at least 3 distinct hunting patterns. They're coordinating. That's impossible. Lyra's skin flickered with disbelief. Even military-grade hybrids don't coordinate without a central command unit. Unless there is one, Jack suggested, somewhere in the arena. Crix's compound eyes swiveled toward Jack. You think we should find it? It wasn't a question. I think, Jack replied carefully, that if we want to survive long enough to reach extraction, we need to eliminate the threat at its source. And how exactly does one primitive human propose we take down multiple Class 10 hybrids and their command unit? Dawes asked, though his tone lacked its earlier derision. Jack's expression was grim but determined. The same way humans have taken down superior predators throughout our history, we use the environment against them. The plan Jack outlined was either brilliant or suicidal, depending on one's perspective. It required perfect coordination, precise timing, and complete trust, something that would have seemed impossible just 24 hours earlier. By midday, they had reached the position Jack had identified as optimal for their counterattack, a narrow valley with steep sides, multiple escape routes, and most importantly controllable access points. They're coming, Crix warned, antenna twitching frantically. 3 signatures, no, 4, converging from different directions. Perfect, Jack said, completing the last of his preparations. Everyone know their positions. 3 affirmative responses, no hesitation, no doubt, a far cry from their first day. The trap was elegant in its primitive design. Jack had identified the hybrids' behavioral patterns and exploited them perfectly. They expected academy-trained responses, technological countermeasures, standard tactical formations, textbook evasion techniques. What they got instead was pure, ancient Earth ingenuity. The first hybrid entered the valley cautiously, its sensory apparatus scanning for threats. It detected none of the team's technological signatures, because they had abandoned their devices as decoys elsewhere. The second and third hybrids took flanking positions, executing perfect pincer movement that would have trapped any conventionally hiding prey. The fourth, clearly the Alpha, remained at the valley entrance, coordinating the hunt through subsonic communications. None of them detected the real threat, until it was too late. From his position high on the valley wall, Jack gave the signal, a bird call so natural-sounding that even the hybrid's advanced audio processing registered it as environmental noise. The response was immediate and devastating. DOS, concealed beneath a camouflage layer of mud and vegetation, erupted from the ground directly beneath the first hybrid. Instead of attacking with his shock staff as his training dictated, he followed Jack's instructions explicitly: grab and hold, nothing more. The hybrid, programmed to counter standard combat techniques, couldn't process this primitive grappling approach. Before its systems could adapt, Crix launched from his hiding place, landing on the creature's sensory cluster not to attack, but to blind it with a paste Jack had created from local flora, with sensory damping properties. The second and third hybrids moved to assist, exactly as Jack had predicted. As they crossed the valley floor, Lyra activated her part of the trap. Not a high-tech snare, but a simple deadfall trigger. Tons of rock, laboriously positioned during their preparations, crashed down with devastating force. The Alpha hybrid registered the threat too late. Its programming demanding it retreat and regroup. It turned toward the valley entrance, and found Jack standing there alone, armed with nothing but his knife, and what appeared to be a crudely fashioned spear. What followed defied everything the Academy taught about confronting superior predators. Jack didn't run, he didn't hide. He charged directly at the hybrid, screaming at the top of his lungs. The hybrid hesitated, a microsecond of computational confusion that proved fatal. It didn't understand this behavior. Nothing in its programming covered prey that attacked a superior predator head-on with primitive weapons and deafening noise. That hesitation was all Jack needed. His spear, tipped with a neurotoxin extracted from local plants, found the gap between the hybrid's natural armor and technological components. Not a killing blow, but a disabling one. As the creature stumbled, Jack's teammates executed the final phase of the plan, using techniques Jack had taught them: leverage points, joint locks, and coordinated team takedowns that relied on physics rather than strength. They immobilized the Alpha hybrid. The command module, Jack directed, pointing to a pulsing node embedded in the hybrid's spine. Disable it, and the others lose coordination. Crix, with his precision and speed, made the extraction. The hybrid shuddered once and went still. Throughout the valley, the remaining hybrids froze, their sophisticated programming suddenly rudderless. Team 12 stood in stunned silence, surrounded by defeated apex predators that had terrorized the entire challenge. How? Lyra finally asked, her skin patterns showing complex emotions. How did you know this would work? Jack was already collecting his improvised tools, face streaked with mud and sweat, but expression calm. Because no matter how advanced the predator, they all have the same fundamental weakness. They expect prey to act like prey. And you acted like a predator, Dawes observed. No, Jack corrected, sheathing his knife. I acted like a human. We weren't apex predators because of strength or speed. We survived because we're adaptable. Academy Director Voss watched the clearing with growing unease. The challenge had collapsed into chaos. Unauthorized predators, communication blackouts, and half the participants eliminated under questionable circumstances. Movement at the perimeter, his security chief reported. Team approaching from southeast. What emerged from the forest defied all expectations. Not one team, but two, moving in perfect harmony, despite their disparate physiologies. At their center walked a lone human male, unremarkable in appearance, but unmistakably leading the formation. More shocking were the 3 deactivated hybrid predators they dragged behind them, bound with primitive restraints of vine and wood. "Director Voss," the human called out, voice steady despite evident exhaustion. "Team 12 plus survivors from Team 7, reporting for extraction. And bringing evidence. Cadet Jackson Hayes, sir, Earth Division." "Explain this," Voss demanded, gesturing to the hybrids and the unorthodox formation. "Someone infiltrated your challenge, sir," Hayes replied, stepping forward while his teammates maintained perfect positioning. "These aren't standard training hybrids, they're military prototypes with external command capabilities." He tossed the extracted command node at Voss's feet. "Somebody wanted to test them against Academy cadets, or eliminate specific targets." Later, as the Academy transport broke atmosphere, Voss found Hayes alone in the observation deck, staring at the planet below. "Your methods were unorthodox, Cadet," Voss began. "They were necessary, sir." "Indeed." Voss studied the human carefully. "Your Academy file indicates average performance at best. Nothing suggesting the leadership or tactical brilliance you demonstrated." Hayes shrugged. "The Academy teaches advanced techniques for advanced threats. Sometimes the oldest solutions work best. The Unity program was created to foster cooperation among species with the potential for military excellence. In 3 years, no team has demonstrated true integration, until today." "Permission to speak freely, sir." "Granted. Your program focuses on technological and biological advantages. But humanity's strength was never about being the strongest or fastest." Hayes turned from the viewport. "We survived because we recognize patterns, adapt quickly, and turn disadvantages into strengths. If the Unity program truly wants integrated teams, start teaching those principles." In the aftermath, the Unity program would be fundamentally restructured, with new emphasis on adaptive thinking and primitive survival techniques, alongside advanced tactical training. Team 12 would become instructors rather than cadets, their unprecedented cooperation setting the standard for future generations. And in classified reports regarding the challenge incident, one conclusion appeared repeatedly. In the face of superior threats, human adaptability proved the most formidable advantage of all.